Welcome to Audio Branding, the hidden gem of marketing. Sound plays a more important role in human behavior and our decision-making than you may realize. In this podcast, I'll help you understand the art and science of sound so you can better influence others in business and your life. I'm your host, Jodi Krangle. Let's delve a little deeper. Well, welcome, Jon, again. I really appreciate your taking the time to do this one more time.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Jodi. I'm a fan of listening to the podcast, and
thank you.
So many insightful visitors. It's a wonderful, broad spectrum of people.
I'm really glad you're enjoying it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I mean, of course, you being a part of that. So thank you again. But yeah, I usually start off these podcasts by asking you if you have a memory of how sound moved you in your childhood. But since we kind of already covered that the last time you were here, I was wondering if you had one that might be more recent that you might want to share.
Yeah, sure. So it was actually a few months ago. I was at a family party over the summer, and my uncle had died 2 years ago. And I knew that his wife, my aunt, was coming to the party, and so that was kind of in the back of my mind. But I was in a room talking to some other people, and I distinctly heard my uncle's voice and his characteristic laughter coming from the other room, and it's just like, I just thought my Uncle Tom was there for a minute. And it actually moved me to the point that I just got totally choked up. Could not continue the conversation with the other people, obviously. And, it just brought to mind just how powerful sound is to us. It just moved me in such a way.
Yeah, definitely the sound of people's voices can bring us right back. Yeah.
And I have one more thing to say on that. And so the craziest thing was, a couple hours into the party, it was my birthday party. Mm-hmm. My aunt presented me with my great grandfather's wedding certificate that was framed, and it was very important to my uncle. Oh. And so it was almost like he was there for a moment,
Oh, that's nice though. That's, yeah. I mean, someone you care about his presence is being felt in the room. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And through sound. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, people's voices are truly, are the window to the soul. People say it's the eyes, but it's people's voices that really, I think, really bring out someone's character.
Oh, yeah.
I think people have all heard, after someone dies, and people will rush to try to get their voicemail recorded or their answering machine recorded, because that's what really brings back so many things. It's not a still image; it's the voice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, I'm very sorry for your loss. So yeah, it's tough to lose someone. But
well, thanks.
But yeah, and happy late birthday as well. I mean, birth and death, I guess it's all part of the same cycle, right?
Oh, yeah. Yes, indeed.
My goodness. Yeah, so a lot has happened for you, I mean, besides what we just discussed, but you've been a part of Sixième Son, and then you've gone your own direction as well. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to sort of touch on how that happened and what the various parts of that are and involve, and how you're working now, because you're back to Sonic Signatures, right?
That's correct. Yeah. So I joined Sixième Son about 3 years ago during the pandemic, and really kind of post-pandemic. And it was just an incredible experience, really being part of a broader team, an international team, and really learning, on the world's big stage about sonic branding, working with very large companies. And, while I was there, I luckily had the opportunity to bring 2 big clients to Sixième Son, and then I got to produce those audio brands as well. So Boom Chicka Pop with Conagra and the Hostess brand that we all know and love, Hostess Twinkies. So I was able to bring those clients to Sixième Son and then really be firsthand in managing those accounts and producing their sonic branding.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's really exciting too. Those are two very fun brands.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So they're both fun. How are they different? I'm curious.
Boom Chicka Pop was a really cool project. It ended up being a full song, a 60-second song with full lyrics.
Wow.
And then we distilled just out of that just a audio logo as well.
Okay.
And so, they can pick and choose how and where they want to play it. And so they actually did reveal the full song with a 60-second TV commercial that was just the song with background visuals. So that was really cool. And then obviously just the audio logo they can use.
So how did you get that put together? Like what were the elements of that? Was it more than music?
For the full song, it was a hip hop track. So we had to do some mood boarding to really find out what would best bring to life, Boom Chicka Pop, what genre and everything. And it ended up being kind of a modern hip hop / pop track. And then we auditioned vocalists and found a fantastic singer and just recorded her on the track.
Fantastic. And the logo, does it include any sound elements? I'm just curious.
Oh, so no, I mean, they did not want to utilize, the Boom Chicka Pop in a sense. Like it says Boom Chicka Pop in a really interesting, provocative way, but there's not sound effects that correlate directly to it. It's more of a really great melody.
Boom, 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 chicka pop. I bring the boom, you bring the boom. We bring the boom, we bring the boom. Crushing it every day, booming the day away. Crushing it, boom, 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 chicka pop.
As far as Hostess is concerned, so what was the difference there?
Yeah, and so that was just the mnemonic. They really just wanted a sonic logo to end their advertising with. And so it was really at the time when Hostess was coming out of bankruptcy. And so they wanted to really come back into the market with a statement to really get attention that, hey, they're here, it's back. And Hostess is all about joy and sharing that joy. And we found through mood boarding that joy to them, really meant exuberance, and high energy. And in particular, it was brass instrumentation that
interesting.
That really made that happen. So we can play the audio logo.
Sure.
And it's going to start with a it's like, and that's going to really signify great taste. Then it's going to play that melody with strong brass instrumentation. And so that's been anchoring their advertising for the last 2 years.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, what a great idea. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's interesting, though, that exuberance is equated to brass instruments. Yeah. I hadn't really heard that before. So yeah, that's an interesting take. But I love that you mood board these, that you sit down with the client and you get them to tell you exactly what emotional intention they have, which, I mean, different words might describe one emotion, but that one emotion may mean different things to different people. So it's interesting to narrow down on that and then find out from them what it really means to them.
That's right. Yeah. And to me, that's one of the most important steps in the whole process is this research, brand assessment, and then you bring that research and assessment to life in the mood board. Mm-hmm. And that is what allows you to create something that is so customized to this brand that it only works for this brand.
Yeah. So now you are not with Sixième Son anymore. You're back with Sonic Signatures. Is that correct?
Yeah. Okay. So I love being at Sixième Son. Learned so much great information. But after 2 years, what was really nagging on me was just I need to be creative. So I have a master's degree in music composition, and I just was not being able to use those skills there because all of the production is done at headquarters in Paris, France. And so kind of leaving Sixième Son, going back to my own agency, I'm able to be the creative director. I'm able to write, concepts, as well as tap other very talented composers to write concepts as well. And I'm just very fulfilled when I'm able to have that creative energy.
I'm really glad to hear that. Yeah. And it just must be a lot of fun to be on your own and doing your own thing again. That's nice. But with Sonic Signatures, well, I mean, I guess with Sixième Son as well, you've seen a lot of changes in the market over the last 3 years. I mean, obviously, pandemic-wise, that's been a lot of the, background in people's minds and influence of a lot of things. But what changes have you seen between, working with them, working on your own? What changes have you seen in the market?
Yeah, I think the changes really dawned on me when I left Sixième Son and, are out selling on your own again. That's really where the changes in the market really dawned on me. Because back in 2018 through 2020, when I had my own agency and selling, it was a lot of education. It was going to brands. A lot of them we were traveling to, agencies we were traveling to. And the pitches were also educational. Right, you're explaining what sonic branding is. You're showing what it can do. Whereas now, I'm finding that people that I had pitched to 2 years ago are coming back to me, looking for sonic branding. Yeah, and then when we do talk to an agency or a brand, they know exactly what audio branding is, and they're ready. They want to do it. It's not something that takes a huge educational standpoint.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that it's becoming more of a going concern these days, that people are actually aware of what it is. Because, I mean, I got to say, when I started this podcast, it's 5 years ago now, November 2019.
Wow.
Not very many people understood what it was or how it could be used to their advantage or what benefits it had to their company or, why they would even think about it. Mm-hmm. And I've been very pleasantly surprised to see that a lot more people understand how powerful it can really be.
Yeah.
So,
and I know we're going to talk about Fireball later, but that is one of the brands that came to us. It was the I think it was the CMO who said, "Hey, we want an audio logo for Fireball," and then luckily I had an inside connection there, so I got the first call. But it was already hot at the agency. They wanted that.
When Fireball came to you, what were the ideas that you were putting across to them, and what did they want to have happen with that audio brand?
Yeah. So the great thing about Fireball is that it is an internal agency. There at Fireball, the creative directors are very close to the brand because they work there. And so they were actually able to write that full creative brief on their own and really come to us with a really tight brief on what they wanted. And so the Fireball brand is very fun. It is, it's very cheeky. And at the same time, it's also disruptive. And and wants to really push the limits on what's possible. And so it was a good challenge.
How do you get disruptive? How do you disrupt in an audio brand? I'm curious.
Yeah, they want to push the limits. I think some of their quotes here, what they told us they wanted to do, is break the rules of traditional advertising. Was what they told us to do.
Oh, okay. Oh, just that. Okay.
But when you think about the brand itself, I mean, that's who Dragon Man is. The Fireball character. He lives to what they call ignite the night. So their mission statement is to ignite the night with unexpected mischief. Right?
I love it.
So he wanted to create a sound that was unexpected, that would get your attention, but then also create something memorable around Fireball, because that was really what their intention was. Is they're creating a lot of radio for streaming music, and so there really is no brand icon there other than the Dragon Man's voice. And so by having a mnemonic, you are creating memorability even further. So then when you're at the store or you're at the bar, you think of Fireball to buy it.
Ignite the night with Fireball.
As you heard, in the beginning, we have this sound of the flame, the whoosh of a flame. And with that sound, we actually have violins that are diving in pitch. And so you create this interesting tonal texture to get your attention in the beginning. And then we have the Dragon's Man voice as he speaks to you. But then over top the Dragon Man's voice, there's an angel choir. And so that is creating...
Okay.
That is creating this juxtaposition, right? Because you've got the dragon who sounds like a demon, but then you've got this angel choir that is hanging out high above him in the audio spectrum, creating this juxtaposition. And then it ends with this loud statement of 3 notes. And those 3 notes are really corresponding with the 3 syllables in Fireball. And so so together it makes this disruptive sound that is also a very memorable.
Yeah, that definitely has that disruptive sound. I can see. I think by the combination of those really interesting different parts that it does make it sound very different. So yeah, that's very cool. So how big is Fireball as a company? I'm just curious because you were dealing with a lot of really large companies at Sixième Son, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. And now in Sonic Signatures, I'm sure you could deal with very large companies, but are most of the clients that come to you now like mid-sized to smaller, or where do you fit in that?
I would say the difference is that we are kind of based on where the market has changed, is that we are working mostly with agencies and brands that are located regionally to us. So even though Sazerac is a global leader in spirits, Fireball is their number 1 brand. So it is an international brand. In fact, the radio ad is very funny. It debuted in Australia. And so even though it's a very national brand, that is located very regional to us being in Ohio. And so we're able to work with brands and a lot of advertising agencies that are close to us regionally. And so I think really that is one thing that has changed. Whereas I think prior to the pandemic, you had to go to the largest agencies, New York and LA, and working there. Whereas now people are aware of audio branding, and the local agencies are selling it into their clients, who are still national clients, but it's a local agency.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think a lot of things have become more remote. So, people don't need to travel for a lot of business anymore. Yeah. And so giving the regional agencies the power to do their own thing, or to be responsible for a major release of something that will be rolled out throughout the entire brand, I think is becoming much more commonplace, that, it doesn't matter where you are anymore.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, I think that's the really big difference for sure.
I really like that idea. Yeah. So are you working with any smaller companies with Sonic Signatures?
Currently, no. Mm-hmm. We have several projects that are going on and in the queue stage, but they're all national brands. But the agencies are actually located, regionally here around us.
So if someone was interested in making an audio brand for their product or service, and it wasn't, say, an internationally well-known brand, or it was regional or local, what would you suggest that their first steps should be?
Yeah, and there's no reason a regional local brand cannot have a wonderful sonic identity. Being from Cincinnati, everyone knows Cincinnati for Cincinnati chili. But the number 1 chili parlor is Skyline Chili, and they have had a song that they've been using for 30 years, and it's called Skyline Time. It's a remake of another song with custom lyrics, but they are the number 1 in Cincinnati, and I think that is one of the reasons. That the number 2 is there. It spends equally as much on advertising, but the Kelsey brothers, when they come to Cincinnati, there's only one Skyline parlor they're going to go to, and that's Skyline. So sonic branding can be extremely powerful for a regional brand as well. I would say it can be the most effective for regional brands that are doing audiovisual content. So like if you're doing radio, streaming radio, if you are active in creating videos, whether those are streaming, broadcast, or digital YouTube, you're creating content that is audiovisual. You're only going to make it that much more effective when you're using custom music, custom sounds that pertain to your brand identity.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So when you're dealing with a local or a regional company, what's the difference doing an audio brand for them as opposed to, let's say, a big, large, like international company? Like Fireball or, like Hostess, like what's the difference working for a smaller type of company doing this?
I think you could maybe look at the budget, but I think just because of the scope of where the media is going to be played, but I think the process should really be the same. You want to go through the same in-depth analysis and competitive review and that same mood boarding exercise, because whatever you put on your brand has got to be the highest quality, and you want to get your money's worth.
Sure. Yeah. So you have steps that you go through with this, with the clients, whoever they happen to be. What kind of steps?
So
You're
I
talking
did create
about
a top
mood
10.
Boards. Yeah. Please.
And I can send you that top 10
Yes.
for your listeners to have and download as well.
That'd be great.
So if you want, I could go there.
Sure. Please do.
All right.
Let's talk
All right.
about
So these
this.
are things that it was great for me to put this together, because after being in sonic branding for the last four more years and working at Sixième Son as well, these are things that you wish all brands did, right? Or you wish that always happened as part of the process. And so by making this list, it was almost like just getting out things that you always, your grievances you wish brands would do, in a sense too, right?
Totally valid.
So I would say, these are the top 10 things that are, essential to creating an effective audio brand.
Okay.
So number one, you want to know what your primary business needs are that audio branding can solve.
And are there any examples of that kind of a thing?
Sure. And so, the things that people look for audio branding the most are, getting people's attention, creating memorability, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then audio branding says so much more, right? Because you can be a healthcare company that wants to be seen as innovative, right? So when you create that audio brand, it's also solving that you want to be seen in leadership or innovation. Or you could be a hospital that is already has innovation and they want to be seen as caring, right? Mm-hmm. They want to be seen as more warm. And so then the audio logo is going to be very different between those two examples versus innovative versus caring.
Yeah.
And so you got to know, what are you trying to solve with your audio branding? Not only is it memorable attention, but when we go through this audio branding process, we're going to reveal things about the brand, how you want the brand to feel to your consumer.
Sure.
And we'll go through that process together.
Yeah. And it could, of course, also be disruptive.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. We're not like everyone else in the marketplace. Yeah. Yeah, I like that idea. Yeah.
Yeah. So number two is, identify your brand touchpoints, in which it will be used. Right?
Yeah, you want to actually use it once it's made. Why spend money on something you're not going to use, right?
That's right. Yeah. And you should have an idea of that even before you start. But, part of the process when we do that brand assessment is we're going to tell you more places than you thought you even could use it. And that's going to inform, on how we create this, this as well. And inform how many adaptations we create.
Well, that's the end of this episode. Thanks for listening. And if you like what you heard, why not tell a friend about this podcast? It's available in all the usual locations. Until next time.